שמע שיר חדש
It's now Monday of Parshat of Shabbos Shira and of Beshalach, Parshat Beshalach. Dalet Shvat to Yud Shvat. In these days, we'll be making Kiddush Levana. Some make it immediately, but everybody's making Kiddush Levana this week, so it's the Kiddush Levana of Chodesh Shvat, an auspicious time. And the shir that I would like to give today will encompass, I would say, the grand finale of Yetzias Mitzrayim, known as Shira Hayam. And I think we should begin by acknowledging the concept of Shira comes at a time when there's mortal danger and a person survives the mortal danger. The halacha is very similar to the idea of being a karban toda. The karban toda is a physical manifestation of a Shira. Same idea, halel lahalel ulahodot. So who brings a karban toda? The Gemara tells us in Brachos, it says, Yordei hayam ba'onios, based on Pasuk. If you're traveling in a dubious path that you know it's not necessarily so safe, right? Especially in the water or other sort of travel, a person who comes into illness, which we don't know if they'll escape, so to speak, with their lives, and somebody who comes out of prison. How ironic, somebody who comes out of prison. How apropos, we have a trickle of people coming out of prison, one of whose name may be the most interesting, and not being in Eretz Yisrael, being in Galus for these couple of weeks, I don't have my hand on the pulse of the feelings of what's going on in Eretz Yisrael the same way as I might over there. But it did occur to me the big story was related to a girl named AGAM. Now, AGAM is part of Hallel, where AGAM Mayim, Chalamish Mayno Mayim. AGAM is part of the Shira and Hallel. Right there, right? Explicitly. So, what was the Shira of AGAM? Her Shira apparently was very similar to the Shira of Klal Yisrael, which is one of the 4 karban todas is getting out of prison. So she was chayav a karban toda, chayevet a karban toda, and her toda Hashem was, as far as I understand, and you will probably tell me more detail than I am aware, but apparently she and her mother simultaneously took on Shmira Shabbos unknowingly, not knowing that the other one was doing that. And then I did see a clip of the mother, who was one big halal and hodah. This is a woman who did not grow up in a Torah environment, let's say, wasn't bechunechet in religious yeshivos. Somehow she locked into this incredibly high level of todah, halal v'hodah. In essence, Shmir Shabbos is a halal and hodah to Hashem because it recognizes Hashem both as the creator of the world primarily, but also as the one who takes Klal Yisrael out of Mitzrayim. So you see that by acknowledging Shabbos, you're actually acknowledging the concept of Zeichel Yetzias Mitzrayim, which is what the karban todas include, specifically leaving prison, which is what akin to the whole experience of Klal Yisrael. So isn't this ironic? It's almost like a echo, or I would call it, how the backup singers. There's the backup singers. The Parshat, Shira Hayam, all of Klal Yisrael singing, but then there's these backup voices, the Shiras Miriam. Yeah, which is also, I gave an extensive shir once on Shiras Miriam. We'll have to talk about that perhaps another time. But we could ask, like, here's two women, right? A mother and a daughter who are singing Shira. I don't know what's Miriam. Miriam was a mother and a daughter. Yocheved and Miriam were mother and daughter, and they were at the epicenter of the entire Yeshua, because without the two of them, A, there would be no Klal Yisrael to go out. And number two, they gave birth and saved the life of Moshe Rabbeinu. I mean, let's face it, these women have a right to sing the Shira preeminently, but even more so. The Medrash tells us that there's a concept, and I'm going to get to this Okay, we're going to get to this a little bit later. The concept of Miriam's shear and what in general the Jewish people saw at Shira Siyam is what I'd like to address. In other words, there was a nevuah, and it epitomized itself in Simcha. Now remember, not every nevuah is a happy one. Think of Yirmiyahu and some sprakim of Yeshaya. A lot of the Nevi'im gave us Musar, and that was their primary objective, was to give us Musar. But then there's a different type of nevuah or revelation of Hashem, which is pure Simcha. Not exactly the same. It's an experience and not a message. It's an experience and not a message. It's compared to the nevuah of Yecheskel ben Buzi. Now, of course, Yecheskel ben Buzi was given a nevuah, but his nevuah was not like other nevuos in the chapters relating to the revelation of the Bayit Shlishi, the third Beis Hamikdash, which everybody who left Mitzrayim saw. Even Shivchal Yom Chazal tell us. We know that they saw an image, and I have to put two and two together. It's not that Yechezkel saw this great thing and they saw this great thing, and it's two separate great things. It's one great thing. They all saw the nevuah of Bayit Shlishi. And I'll prove that to you from inside the text. It's just that even a Shivchal Hayam saw it to a greater extent of clarity than Yechezkel himself saw it. And Yechezkel was tasked with writing down this information. It's like the 40th chapter for a few chapters of the book of Yechezkel, and record it for posterity. And yet, what any person at all that was at the Yom could have done theoretically a better job of describing in great detail the revelation of Hashem that is the Bayit Shlishi. Okay, so we're starting with this profound thing that there's a Shirat Miriam going on here, mother and a daughter, about Shmir Shabbos, which is itself a Halal and Hodol Hashem, for Brias Olam and Brias Olam, which is akin to birth of a child, and also the Yitzias Mitzrayim, which is akin to leaving prison or dangerous circumstances. We can't get into all the horrific details of what their shibud was like, but it sounds, not that the world cares that much, if at all, but that's a story that also needs to be told. It's kind of like the Seder night obligation. We should talk about the bad times to highlight and illuminate the good times. So let's hope that this energy is really something. When a great Kiddush Hashem happened, AGAM Mayim. Let's connect the AGAM to the concept of the Mayim of the Yam. Same idea. Okay. That was just like a glance from a distance. But here's what I want to share with you. Okay. Last week, we briefly said the logic of the Esther Makos as Gilui Shechina, as Hashem revealing himself one by one, logically, persuasively, powerfully, and with utter clarity. What was that? So if you recall, according to Ari HaKadosh, the first Makkah represents the concept of Malchus, the lowest of all the 10 spheros, okay, which is assigned to David HaMelech, essentially, and culminates in Makkos Bechoros, which is connected the highest of the 3 spheros. And we mentioned the distinction between Parshas Va'era, which houses 7 of the Makkos, to last week's Parsha, Parshas Bo, which we're still in the Hashpah of Bo until tomorrow. We still make Havdalah on Parshas Bo tomorrow. And in there contained the 3 Makkos that are called Mochin, or brain trust. And we described that last week. Keser Chachma Bina or Chachma Bina Das, whichever way you want to look at it, the different traditions. But the peak of the peak of the peak was Makkos Bechoros. And of course, the ultimate Bechor is who? Paro. Paro is the ultimate Bechor. So if you want to look at it this way, although all of the Bechorim died with Makkos Bechoros on Seder night, right? Paro, if you learn that he didn't survive, or if whichever way you learn, the subject of the Shira is Sus V'Rachvo Ramabayam Ki Vasus Paro. Paro was delayed 7 days. His Makkos Bechoros came on the 7th day of Pesach. You follow me? It was a delay in the Makkos Bechoros, but it's still part of the same thing. Hence, in Pirkei Avos, we say Asara makos hebikash baruch hu anisim Mitzrayim, 10 makos in Mitzrayim, v'asara al hayam. Of course, we know in Haggadah there was multiple, 200, 250, etc. But the essential concept is that the makos didn't finish in Mitzrayim. You follow me? It carried over to the Yam Suf. There's a parallel between the makos that Hashem brought on Mitzrayim and the makos that He brought on the Mitzrayim at Kriyas Yam Suf, which culminates. It's an extension, or perhaps a reproduction of all the 10 makos, Kanireh. But the obsession within the Shira to speak about sus v'rechbo. Again, how many horses we got over here? There's a lot of horses. Everything is horses. You know, why are we so fixated on horses and carriages? I mean, okay, there were 600 Rechav Bachur, but Klal Yisrael's 3 million people, at least, maybe more. And so why were they so afraid of 6 chariots? Oh, come on, 6 chariots against 3 million people? Like, what's that? Like, is that really like 6 main horses, you know? Is that really so scary? It looks, if you would say to me there's 600,000 chariots, okay, I get it. If you'd say to me there's 6,000 chariots, I don't know, 60,000 for sure. But 6? You know, Sheish Ma'os, 600? Okay, all right, you know, it's not overwhelming. That means that for every Jewish head of household, right, every 10 households had 1 chariot against it, right? Because we know there's 600,000 core families. And so 1 chariot for 10 families. Why can't 10 families overpower 1 chariot? Well, we can't underestimate the power and symbolism of this. But it seems that it's very associated to the concept of sus, paro, sus paro. Paro is a sus. What does that mean? What are we talking about here? What does it mean that paro is a sus paro? So, and how is that part of Makas B'chorah? So let's understand. Okay, so if we go back, Makas Dam, as we explained briefly last week, Dam, Hashem was taking the ancient man, the typical person of Egypt, who was completely lost to Avodah Zarah. What was their Avodah Zarah hierarchy? So let's understand. On top of the pyramid, so to speak, was Pharaoh. He was the ultimate Avodah Zarah. They feared him and they saw him as he saw himself, as the master of the Nile, as the bestower of all good. He replaces the notion of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Rachmanu Litzlan, and that's the ultimate Avodah Zarah. But under him, there's a pantheon of helpers. So who helps Paro in this world of anti-HaKadosh Baruch Hu Avodah Zarah? It's got a few partners. Who are his partners? Who are the partners? Who plays a role in Paro's demonstration of dominance that the whole country is subservient to him? Help me out here. What are some of the tools? What?
The Khartoumim.
Right. The magic of which Paro is the chief Khartoum, as it were. And that's why the Khartoum plays such an important role in the Makos, as we shall see, that they're like right-hand man of Paro in controlling everything. Who else is a partner to Paro? Paro has lots of partners, co-deities, co-deities is what I would call them. Who's the number one power of Egypt? Number one is the Nile itself, right? Remember Yaakov Avinu blesses Paro that the Nile should come up to his feet, which inherently is a act of avodah zarah for the, in other words, to claim, for Paro to claim that the bracha of Yaakov, which was from Hashem, was actually his doing. That's the ultimate avodah zarah. So the Yam is a partner. The Khartoumim are partners. What else are partners? What did they worship in Egypt? What did they worship in Egypt? Sheep, right? And they worship wild animals too. Did you ever see the Sphinx? What is the Sphinx? It's a lion. It's a half a lion. What did they have in the court of the Khartoumim that Moshe Rabbeinu had to make a sign? Snakes. These are, what did Paro have at the foot, according to the Medrash, at the foot of his throne? 2 massive hungry lions. You couldn't come close there. Impossible. So the wild beasts are part of this mystique of this Avodah Zarah image, false image. What about Khartoumim, and their magic is part of it. The Nile is part of it. The very land of Mitzrayim is part of it. The land itself, because it's a land which is spooky. Everybody knows, we'll have to a million adults, you go to the modern terror movies, right? Boris Karloff, here I'm dating myself, and the mummies. The mummies, it's all about the mummies. And they're drinking, I forget what it's called, some sort of tanna leaves. Tanna leaves give life to the mummy. And everybody's terrified. And we're terrified of Egypt. That was, the early terror movies, a lot of them surrounded on Egyptian magic. Not only the Khartoumim, but the tanna leaves. It was the land itself. There was a land that was miyuchedes to black magic. Things like, just like on the opposite side, Zelu Moseh Baro, the land of Eretz Yisrael, is miyuched for kedusha and connection to Hashem. Mitzrayim was miyuchedes for connection to Tuma and Avodah Zarah. That's what it was, right? So the land is a partner. The wild animals are partners. The Khartoumim are partners. Okay? Now, what does Hashem do? He knocks them off egregiously, one at a time. He says, let's take it slow. I'm going to demonstrate to you Mr. Mitzri, and Mr. Mitzri is Paro, ultimately. This is a theological debate between Moshe and Paro. Moshe's, which explains, according to my friend, Rabbi Stephen Friedman, who says, answers the $1 million question, or I should say $1 billion. $1 million is nothing today. $1 billion question, why didn't Paro just kill Moshe at the very beginning? What is he hanging around? After every makkah, he should have killed him. Why did he kill Moshe? Just kill him. Get rid of him. You got the lions there. You got everything. So there's a lot of answers that you could possibly offer. But one of them could be that he had no animosity towards Moshe. I mean, according to the Midrashim, he grew up with Moshe, or at least he made himself not know Moshe, according to one opinion, Yosef. But Moshe, he knew, grew up in the palace, assuming that's all the same cast of characters. We know Bisya, the mother of Moshe, was one of the Yotzei Mitzrayim, so he wasn't an unknown. So therefore, he didn't really have animosity towards the leaders of the Jewish people. As we've said, Reuven, Shimon, and Levi tribes may not have served in servitude at all. Levi for sure not, but it also looks like Dasan and Aviram led a caste of elite Jews. There's lots of elite billionaire Jews today, right? And they're not necessarily, backing a vision of Hakadosh Baruch Hu's vision for the world. They got their own visions for the world. They have their own plans for the world. So these billionaire elites, for lack of a better word, have merit because they provided good things for the Jewish people, protected them. I said Dasan and Aviram are not simple at all. They were bona fide heroes of Israel. Save the Jews. It's unbelievable what they did. So these were part of the entourage of Paro, and it was a theological debate between Moshe and Paro about who's God, and therefore who represents God. Moshe, are you the king? Because you represent everything. You are the Melech. You're the manifestation of Hashem's will for this world, his keser, as it were, his crown. Or is Paro, who is the keser of Tuma, the other way around. He's the prince of darkness, as it were. He is the embodiment of the Ratzon HaSatan. So there you go. But they're not having an unfriendly conversation. They're having a friendly conversation. How do I know? Because things change. Things change in Parshas Bo. All of a sudden, Hashem gets angry Moshe gets angry with Paro. He says, so let's understand. But first the Makos. And then with the transformation of Moshe to being the king instead of Paro. Follow me? That's what's going on here. Dam disproves the Nile as a deity, right? Blood, not source of life, source of death. Tzvardea will kill you, poison you, kill you. There's either they're crocodiles or they're poisonous frogs, whatever they were, death. So in the Nile, which spat out the Tzvardea, it's not helping. It's not going to help you. Okay, the land of Egypt with the soil of Egypt. That's Kinim. No one help you. And even the Khartoumim can't make Kinu. And then you have Arov, the wild animals, the snakes, the lions. That's not going to help you. Dever, that's the domestic animals. They're not going to help you. The sheep, it's your God, forget it. Okay. Shchin, the Khartoumim themselves, the people, they couldn't stand in front of Moshe because of their boils. They are going to beat Moshe. The Sadak Tuma is going to beat the Sadak Kedusha? No. So Shchin wipes out all the Khartoumim. They can't stand Lo Yochel Lamod Moshe. Okay. So what do you have left? Nature. Nature, right? That nature is the ruler, not Hashem. Nature rules. Hashem is not in charge. Nature is in charge. That was the big mistake of the Dor Enosh, that they started to worship the natural governors of the world. So what happens with nature? Hashem sends Borad, the last of the 7 first Makos. Fire inside water cannot be. No nature. Sorry, guys. I've checked your list off. The bottom 7 deities are going to be discounted. Who's left? There's only 3 things left. 2 to 3 things left. Who's left? What did ancient Egypt worship? What was the name of their god? Interestingly enough, it was the sun. What did they call the sun? Ra. You can't make this stuff up. The name of their god was Ra. They worshipped evil. What is evil? The sun is in charge. Because Baruch is not in charge. The sun. How can you beat the sun? Okay, so a few Khartoumim here and there, and the Nile itself, lowly water. But the sun? You can't touch the sun. You can't stop the sun. The sun does whatever it wants. It's in charge. So Hashem brings Arbe, Kisas Ein Haaretz, and it's dark. Even the most lowly creature who will eat every source of food that you have. Sun's not going to help you. It's not going to grow your crops. Adir Rabba, I can block out the sun, and it's going to eat up all your crops. Not going to leave a leaf on the tree. Rashi explains to us. So what are you banking on the sun to save you? I don't think so. And then comes Choshech, ultimate darkness. There is no sun. Not that there's a sun, but we overpower it. So you could say, well, maybe the sun will have a good day and be mitgaber. No, only Choshech. Only Choshech. And then the final blow is Makas Bechoros, which is Paro himself, who was a Bechor. So you want to say the top of the pyramid, the top of all this, I would say, kadra or cacophony of Avodah Zarah, the top is Paro, and he's going to get his in the Yam Suf. But not before Moshe seizes the crown. And here's what I want to show you. Ready? When we enter the world of the 3 Mochin, Moshe Rabbeinu says to Paro that there's going to be Makas Arbe. Okay? And then at that point, Moshe gets upset with Paro. Moshe, let's just read those psukim for one moment. That's a critical turning point from last week's Parsha. And Vayifein, and he says, Vayifein vayetze me'im Paro. Moshe walks out on Paro. Who else walked out on Paro with the exact same words? Yaakov Avinu. Vayifein vayetze me'im Paro. Makas Arbe is a reflection of something we've had experience before. Yaakov Avinu did the same thing. Arbe is, so to speak, Kineged Yaakov Avinu. Yaakov turned his back on Paro and walked out. Moshe would turn his back on Paro and walked out. Yaakov Avinu came down to Mitzrayim because he needed food. Didn't have food. Okay? The Makav Arbe took away all the food of Mitzrayim to show Yaakov doesn't need your food. You follow me? It's the complete reversal. What Yaakov started, Moshe finishes. Vayifen vayetze me'im Paro. And at that point, something happens that's strange. Vayetze, Moshe leaves Bechari off. He gets angry at Paro. 1 second. You're not allowed to be angry at Paro because Hashem told him at the very beginning, before the Makkos began, Vayitzavim el Paro of Bnei Israel. You have to be respectful to Paro and respectful to every Dustin and Avira and every other guy that's going to give you a hard time from Bnei Israel. You're commanded to do so. That's how I want it to be done, with tact and not with anger, but with teaching. And therefore, you can't turn your back on Paro. You can't go out bechari off in a huff. How could it be that Moshe Rabbeinu, all of a sudden it changed? How did it turn on a dime? And the answer is an incredible thing. Once we enter the last realm of three, which is Chachma Bina Das, the highest level, the Malchus was already being transferred to Moshe himself. So who's the king now? After Arba, who's the king? Moshe is the king. Because we have a deep question here. Moshe Rabbeinu never heard a word from Hashem or spoke a word to Hashem in front of Paro. It's filled with Avodah Zarah. You can't talk to Hashem over there. There's nothing but Avodah Zarah over there. How could Moshe Rabbeinu receive the nevuah of Makas Bechoros, Parshat 2, but Makas Bechoros, the end game, and he says, Lo Tosif Ros Panai. Paro throws him out and says, you're not going to see me anymore. And he's megarish him. And Moshe says, you're right. You're not going to see me anymore. How did Moshe know? How could Moshe possibly know? Similarly, Moshe says to Paro, you're also going to give us, you're going to give us animals. We have no record of such a thing. We have no record that Moshe Rabbeinu took animals from Paro, right? And then gave them as karbanos on behalf of Paro. There's no such thing. So how could Moshe say such a thing? So let's understand. If Moshe is now the king, what happened to all the Avodah Zarah? It's immediately dissolved because an Eved has no possessions. All the possessions of Paro Melech Mitzrayim have disappeared. They're gone. They're gone. They're completely gone. And therefore, there's no Avodah Zarah here. Moshe is cleared for takeoff. He can talk to Hashem. He can receive Nevuah from Hashem. Re'os Panai means that I'm coming to you. You're the king, and I'm honoring you by, curtsying in front of you or approaching you, Mr. King. But Moshe Rabbeinu says it's not going to happen anymore because now I'm the king. That's all he meant. He never. We know that he saw Paro once more. He saw Paro because he came. Paro in pajamas in the middle of the night. We know that he came, but he didn't receive him as. But Moshe didn't receive him as king anymore. That's the difference. Okay, and finally, about the animals. This is interesting. Why did Moshe say that he's going to take the animals of Paro? So here's my theory. You ready? The sheep of Yaakov Avinu were the nascent souls of the Jews in Egypt. That's what our Sfarim Kedoshim tell us. Now those sheep had come under the power of Paro. Those represent all the Jewish souls that have been lost, swallowed alive. But like Miss AGAM, or what's her mother's name? What was the name of this AGAM's mother? The one who came back from Gaza. What is her mother's name? They were not under the influence of Torah mitzvahs necessarily, but they spark back in a powerful way. That's what Moshe is talking about. He says, those Shepselach, those unmatured Jewish souls that you, Paro, still clutch to, and how many millions of them are there, yet unburdened. Shouldn't use that word. Yet unawakened Jewish souls. They're there. The spark is there. The fire is in there. It just has to be opened up. And the nature of Yisurim is to open things up. And when this girl went through Yisurim, and out of her shone the light of Shabbos and the light of Kashrus, and hopefully B'ez Hashem she'll get married. She'll be able to observe Taras Mishpacha, have children, holy children. All children are holy, but they'll be able to have children up Yalach, Yusha Tara. That light came out. That's what Moshe is referring to. You're also going to give me animals, meaning unripe souls that have reached a certain level of development, but haven't quite made the transfer from our animal soul to our high-level soul. Okay. Now, so I want to suggest that it actually went Yaakov, Yitzchak, Avraham. How did this happen? Yaakov Avinu was Makas Arbe because he was the one who reverses the food thing. All the food is gone. It's all out. It's all There's no more reason for Yaakov to be in Shibud because he's now in charge via Moshe Rabbeinu. So that was Makas Arba. Vayifen vayetze min paro b'chariaf. How could you say that I'm angry at you? Why am I angry at you? Because you say I'm going to come to you as king. Moshe says, no more. I'm never going to come to you as king, and I'm angry at you that you don't get it. This philosophical debate has been going on for a year, and you still refuse to get it. But that was Hashem hardening his heart. Moshe got angry at him, saying, "I'm the king already. So what are you doing? What are you doing? I am the king now. Paro, wake up." No. Okay. The next mark of Choshech is Keneged Yitzchak. Why? Why is Makas Choshech Keneged Yitzchak? What do we say about Yitzchak? Could he see? No, he was blind. He could not see. He could not distinguish between the choice of Yaakov and the choice of Esav. A lot of Meforshim on this about what yes and what no, but he certainly saw Esav as playing part of the role that Yaakov was destined to play, unfortunately without him. And that's why it's Choshech. Choshech is Keneged Yitzchak. Didn't quite discern. And the last one, Makas Becharos, Keneged Avram Avinu. Why? Because Klal Yisrael was chosen through Avram Avinu, and therefore other nations such as Mitzrayim cannot be the chosen people. Once you get to Makas Becharos, the choice of Paro as the ruler of the world, as the inheritor of the world, as the master, the destined master of the world. You know, the Nazis, they said because we were a blood master race, we deserve to rule the world because that's how nature works, right? Only the strongest survive. So since the will, so to speak, of the creator, if there is a creator, was that, or just nature, the will of nature is that we survive. So they had a blood cult based on the idea that, you know, the fittest survive, and the ones who are lowly, you dominate or get rid of. And that was their belief. It was their belief. And we see how fallacious that was, because it had nothing to do with nature. Nature is merely a tool of a Kodesh Baruch Hu, a convenient veil to hide behind, so that you have the ability to choose Hashem and earn reward. That's what our Masorah is, to everybody, that Hashem hid himself in this world. Zeh Shmi le'olam is spelled without a vav, but Hashem hides himself in this world through nature, and by doing that, gives us a choice. Okay, now let's go to Yam Suf. You ready? We're coming down the home stretch. Okay, where are we up to? Yes. Okay, we're gonna try to keep this short. I know we're running late. I'm gonna just try to wrap this up very quickly. What happened in Shiras Yam Suf? Why do we even need Shiras Yam Suf? Like, what's the point? What really is the point? And why was it that the Shifcha saw but Yecheskel ben Buzi could not see? Why? Like, what was that all about? I mean, you got out of Mitzrayim, hooray, hurrah! I'm going to kill Paro. That's very nice, but then something goes way beyond. Okay, let's look at the Shira for a minute. The Shira says a couple of Ramazim directly to the Bayit Shlishi. What do we need to talk about Bayit Shlishi now? We got a long way to go. We didn't even get to Har Sinai yet, and you're talking to me Bayit Shlishi? Like, whoo, slow down, right? Here's the Shira. By the way, the Shira is how is the Shira written in the text of the Torah itself? Who knows? Help me out here. What's the text? What does it look like? You get that Aliyah. You look in the Torah, that portion, even in Chumashim. How is the text written? The normal way? No, not the normal way. What does it appear as? A wall of bricks. In the Mishnah, in Bava Basra, in the very beginning, it speaks about shchenim who have to build a wall. So there's different types of bricks that represent different sizes. Okay, Gwil, Gazis, Kvisin, Levanim. A levena, it says in Masech Zerv, it is a tefach and a half on its length. That's what the Mishnah says too. So why would we build bricks? Kilivnat Sapir. Hashem's throne also has bricks, because that was what was seen by the Shivim Skenim when they gazed illegally at Hashem, they saw Kemaisas livnas hasavir. Maisa meaning the binyan, the structure, its bricks, which was the suffering of the Jewish people, was burning in front of Hashem, and was and their souls were shining there, despite all their hardships. And that's the building bricks. Bricks are buildings. Buildings are building something. It's not just that you get out of the water and you towel yourself off, or you walk through the water dry and you say, wow, I'm glad I didn't get wet. And all the miracles that happened in the Yam. There was fruits, there were, I imagine, vegetables, there was wonderful, icy, brilliant, beautiful spectacle of how the water iced up or whatever happened, crystallized. There was a plethora of each path for each Shevet separately. Forget about it. It was a massive miracle. It was a lot more than being saved. It was a lot more than getting out of prison. Why? Just get out of prison, walk through the water, and get rid of the captors, and that's enough. Why do we have to go to the nth of human experience, of a nevuah that no one could touch, except at that moment? Why was that part of Yetzias Mitzrayim right now? Why? So Hashem said, "V'chavda b'paro pochelo," because Hashem says, for one short minute, I'm going to give you a glimpse of my glory. I'm going to show you what the Rebbeinu Shalom really is all about, as far as you can, as a human being can conceive, right? And it says the following words. This is my God. I can see God. I can actually experience a direct Gilui Shechina, right? Whereas the Markabos Paro are the antagonists. I can only experience their shibud. That's the opposite. And then it goes on, the Shira. Shamu Amim Yirgazon. Not only about Paro. Hilachaz Yoshei Peleshes. The Palestinians are gonna be scared. And they are scared, but they're gonna be a lot more scared. Az Nehalvu Nivhalu Elafei Edom. The Christians, the Western nations are gonna be shaken up. Ele Moab, the Jordanians and the Saudis and all those guys. Yachazemu Ra'ah, they're gonna be quaking. Namogo Kol Yoshvei Canaan, the so-called Palestinians, the Canaanites. This is a comprehensive victory, not against power, against every evil, every obstacle to Hashem's glory being revealed. And here's the clincher. Pasuk Yud Zayin, Tezvav Yud Zayin. Vativi'emo vatita'emo bahar nachlasecha. I'm going to take you to Har Moriah, machayin l'shivtecha, and build a Beis Hamikdash. Pa'alta Adonai Mikdash Hashem kainenu yadecha. I'm going to build the Bayit Shlishi. So here's what I'd like to suggest. Here's what I'd like to offer. What Kriyas Ramsuf was an extension of. It was an extension of Makas Bechoros. It was Kivasus Paro. It had to go to the core of all Golios. Mitzrayim is only a metaphor for all the Golios. That's why in the Shira itself we mentioned Moab and Edom and everybody, Plashes, everybody who we're going to have a hard time with, Edom, all the Christian nations, all the Arab nations, everybody. Because at that very point, at the top of the Spheros is Keser, the will of Hashem. What is the will of Hashem? The will of Hashem is a Dira B'Tachtonim. The will of God is to live with us, to be with us. And that is expressed in the Bayit Shlishi. So do you understand that you can't have the Makos without getting to the will of Hashem? Because there's no point otherwise. That's why, Api Kabbalah, they tell us that Keter is ducked into Malchus, and Malchus is ducked into Keter. It's like a circular thing. In the beginning and the end is the beginning. Why? Because Malchus down here, i.e., Malchus Yisrael, Api Torah Mitzvah, B'nei Beis Hamikdash, end of Shibud Malchios, all those good things, is just a manifestation of a higher will that HaKadosh Baruch Hu started way back that we can't even possibly comprehend, that he should have a Dira B'Tachtonim, the will. Okay. Now here comes the punchline. Let me just make this point, drive this point home. The Makos were a revelation of the will of Hashem, that we recognize Him as God. They had to go through all the options, check out. Like the Havdalah quarterback checks out. Oh, I can't throw the ball to that guy, he's covered. I can't throw the ball to that guy, he's covered. I can't do this, I can't do that, I can't do that. What am I going to do? Splat. And they tackle him. In other words, there's only one way to go. Upwards towards Hashem. And everybody needed to know it. That's why even a Shifcha had to see it herself, so that every potential member of the Jewish people, and by the way, a Shifcha could be someone who was purchased from a non-Jewish nation. Afilu Shifcha, it doesn't say Shifcha, it doesn't say Ama Ivriya, it doesn't say a Jewish girl who was sold as an early marriage as a child bride to grow up in a house and then be married. It says Shifcha. Shifcha is the Shifcha Bisha, which is the lust, the unholiness. This is what Susparo represents. Susparo means the Malchus of Taiva. What is the Taiva of a Sus? We once spoke about Susim. Did you ever notice the devils have no Susim? You ever mention Avram riding a horse when he went to battle? There were Susim. There were plenty of Susim. The anthropologists are going to argue with you that there were no domesticated camels when Avram was alive. Sorry, you got it wrong. And there were plenty of horses too. How come Yaakov doesn't have a horse? How come Yitzchak doesn't have a horse? How come Avram never has a horse? Because you know what a sus represents? Taiva, lust, gaiva, kavod. It's an animal that adores attention. Some people say that, some of the big Triple Crown winners, the big famous horses, they used to preen around the victory thing where they gave the horse flowers. Do you believe this? Why do you give horse flowers? They give the one that wins the race, they give him a crest of flowers. What is the horse going to do with flowers besides eat them? And the answer is the horse understands. It wants to win. It has a will. It has the will, but not the holy will. It's got a will. It's got a will to fulfill its desire for kavod. It's also desire for lust. That's a horse, right? I can't go into details, but it represents an unholy desire. Okay, an ahava nefula. That's paro. If man becomes, if he listens to his yetzer hara, then he becomes a slave to his passions. That is Mitzrayim, a slave to the passions. But we want to be over the Hashem. Okay, so that's why it has to go down to the level of every shifcha. You follow me? A shifcha is ovedet. She works for somebody. Hashem wants every shifcha to work for him. Why? Because Hashem wants to be close to her. That's what Hashem wants. We can't explain it. We can't possibly understand it. What does he want from us? It's like, think of it this way. L'havdol million havdalos. The richest man in the world, right? Now we think we know who it is even. Elon Musk calls you on the phone. Hey, Yaakov, you think I could have a few minutes of your time? A few minutes of your time? President Trump gets you on the phone. Hello, however he speaks. This is President Trump. Do you think you might be able to spare a few minutes, come to the White House and advise me on some important issues? Well, I don't know. I'm kind of busy today. I have a doctor's appointment. Do you think you can rearrange things to come see me for a few minutes? Well, I don't know. Let me speak to let your people call my people. And we'll see if we can set something up. Thanks. Got to go. Bye, Donald. It's not happening. If somebody's calling you that's very high in the hierarchy of the world, you are there. You're dropping the phone on your friend, and you're out the door so fast. Right? That's the havdil, bazillion havdalos, what Hashem does with us every single day. Think you got a few minutes for me? Want to talk? Can we talk a little bit? A little davening. Maybe you want to be connected to me. I have these things that we could do together, like a play date. What's a play date? Oh, I got great opportunities that we can feel connected. A mitzvah is a connection. It means tzava is a connection. It's tzavsa. He goes, here, a little Esther. It's a great toy. It represents so many things. It's so beautiful. Let's play. Let's play together. Let me show you how it represents everything, the good things that I want to do for you and how much I love you. You know, I'm a grandfather now several times over. And a grandfather brings toys and you sit and play with the kids. And that's what a grandfather does. I'm sitting on the floor playing choo-choo trains or menchies with little kids. Yeah, you better. Because that's exactly what the relationship is all about. Because Baruch Hu, you know, a zillion dollars somehow, for some reason, wants to play with us. Loves us, reaching out to us, wants our time. We have to make time. We can't tell the Beit Shalom we're busy. Got a doctor's appointment. Talk to Hashem. I really want to be mechazik everybody to speak to Hashem in their own language. Look at these girls. Look at that girl, AGAM Mayim. I call her AGAM Mayim from Hallel. Look at that girl. What incredible avodas Hashem she did. We should only reach a small fraction of her godless and kedusha. These are things that Hashem is showing us because He wants us to understand. Plane crashes. How many plane crashes are there? I mean, the whole country is crashing. You think it's like a terrorist attack, like 9/11. And I'm not saying it's not. Who knows? But what is Hashem saying? I want your attention. You know, you guys can't rely on science as the answer. For all your science and all your worship of nature and science and logic, you're crashing the planes together, buddy. What are you doing here? Wake up. You're harming. You're not helping. Ultimately, science without God harms. Science with God heals. And that's the merging that we're having. That's the Malchus going into the Kesser and the Kesser going to Malchus. But the last statement is our will. What is our will? And this is the saddest part, and I could just cry. What is our will? What do you really want? What do you really want at the core, of course? So, we know what a being wants. A human being, a man, wants a warm meal, a good steak, a glass of wine, sit down in a warm environment, and just chill. That's what the body wants. It doesn't want anything else. Oh, it may want a relationship with an attractive partner, that too. And it may want to make a lot of money or steal a lot of money, that too. That's about it. That's as far as it goes. That's the will of the Yetzer Hara. It's what it wants: comfort, pleasure, comfort. The neshama, as Rabbi Weinberg used to say every time, wants meaning, wants a meaningful connection, davening, meaningful connection, learning, meaningful connection, hisbodedus, meaningful connection, tefillah by the tzaddik, meaningful connection. And I'm going to use the last few minutes just to tell the story of my journey to America. You ready? Here we go. Connect to the tzaddikim because it helps you with your munah. So on the way here, on the way to America, it's hard to get a ticket, right? How much does LR cost now? $4,000? $3,000? All right, I got a ticket for $1,000 round trip. How do you do that? Okay, you fly Air Poland, Lot Polish, to Warsaw. Oh, and there's one catch. If you want the $1,100 fare, which is already upgraded so that it's a changeable fare with no fee, it starts out at $700. Move it up. Okay, but $1,100 is what you want. You have to have a 21-hour layover in Warsaw. I'll take it, not because of the money, but because 21 hours gives me enough time to get a driver from Warsaw, 3 hours, and take me to Lezhensk, to the Heilig Rebbe Melech, and daven the whole Sefer Tillim there on the way, and have a mikvah and a beautiful meal and a Nate's minyan, and get back in the car. And you daven my heart out for everything I possibly want to daven for, including everybody in Klal Yisrael, and for the captives, and for everything else. And then you get in the car, go back to the airport, catch a flight to New York. That was a 21-hour layover. Okay, I didn't sit in the airport. I wanted to daven for the well-being of Cholim, for the well-being of Klal Yisrael, for the well-being of my relatives, my close people, and everybody that I know, and to Hashem, to connect to Hashem. Okay, so there's two places in the world where if I go there, I feel obligated to say not Tillim, but the whole Tillim. One is the Heilig Rebbe Melech. I have an Elimelech son who's now 19 years old. 20 years ago, exactly 20 years ago, I traveled to the Heilig Rebbe Melech in 1 year I did 3 things. It was the year 2004 when I left the blessed Oceanside. I had to start my family from scratch. I married my wonderful wife, Hani. She had 2 boys. I had a daughter. We needed a new Mitzias in order to establish ourselves as a family. It was a chesed to me. It was a chesed to my kehila. It was a chesed to Hani. It just had to be. And I made that courageous decision to leave on a trip to Uman, my very first trip to Uman. I made a decision saying, I'm going to put my life in Hashem's hands and leave. And he provided us with wonderful opportunities, and we came to Rockaway. We had a beautiful, beautiful life just down the corner. I'm right next door to the house where we lived for those years, 2004, 2012, when we made Aliyah. Wonderful, wonderful years in which my 2 young sons were born, and we were able to make Aliyah. Okay, so when I made that leap of faith, it wasn't without trepidation, and it was really feeling close to the tzaddikim. Took on various practices, especially to daven by Kibbutz Tzaddikim, go to Umar for Rosh Hashanah. That year, I also did a mitzvah called Shiluch HaKan. Shiluch HaKan is one of the top mitzvahs you can do according to the Zohar Kadosh, sending away the mother bird. All right? My wife and I wanted to have the next level of our family. So, because we had 2 boys from her first marriage, my dear sons, Mendy and Levi. We're now married, have wonderful families. My daughter Ayala, who just gave birth to her second boy, and there's Shem whose bris will celebrate Shem Beshalach on Wednesday, and then I'll be able to head back there to Israel. And 2 younger ones that were born after that visit. So what happened? We did Shiluch HaKan. Shiluch HaKan, you say Shalech Teshlech Esaim VaBarim Tikach Lach. Banim, it should say Beitzim. You send away the mother bird and you take the egg. So why did the Torah say Banim? The Zohar Kodesh says what happens in Shemayim is that the birds complain. The sar of the birds say, what kind of business is this to steal the eggs of a mother? The mother wants to kill herself now. The mother is distraught. And then Hashem says, and am I not also distraught? My Mikdash Hashem Koni Yadecha. It's the same concept of a resting place. A Machon L'Shivtecha has been destroyed, and that my children have been sent away, have taken away. And then Shemayim, they start to cry and cry and cry and cry. And they make a decision with Hashem, weeping and mourning with Hashem, that they're going to advance the Geula. Everybody who does the mitzvah Shiluch HaKan, and I have a guy who does it, and his name is Rabbi Khan. You can't make this stuff up. His name is Rabbi Khan. So when I was finished with Lizensk, arrived in America, and I had gone to visit daven by the Lubavitcher Rebbe, which I always do. And then I said, there's one tzaddik I want to go daven for, just pull out all the stops. His name is the Ribnitzer Rebbe in Munsey's, Baal Moifus. His kever is round the clock people. And I've gone there before on difficult occasions and seen a Yeshua. I want to go now. I want to daven for the health, wealth, and well-being of people who need it, and for Klal Yisrael. So I said, I got to go say the whole Tehillim. I get a phone call in the meantime on that day, and I said, okay, I have a nest. Are you interested? I haven't done this with this guy in 20 years. In 20 years. Once in a while, he texts me, and I try to direct people. Once in a while, Pitom, he texts me, I got a con. You're interested? And I said to myself, bingo. There's a big store now, Bingo, in Far Rockaway. It has everything for Shabbos. It's amazing. It's a good thing I didn't build it before I left on Aliyah. I don't know if I would have left. Also, I said, what is this business? And he goes, I said to him, but today I have to go to Manhattan. I have a number of appointments in Manhattan. And I'm going to go by train. I have to see my daughter. She just had a baby. I don't know what I'm going to do. And he says, and I have to go to Ribnitz. So how am I going to do this? He goes, well, you should know that the Ribnitzer Rebbe said that he's closely associated with this mitzvah Shiluch HaKan more than any other mitzvah. And that many Hasidic people, rabbis, and people in the know, first do Shiluch HaKan and then run to daven by the Ribnitzer Rebbe. So you're better off doing it, coming to me before you go there. Why are you talking about meetings? I mean, in the afternoon, it's 4 o'clock. And you know what temperature was outside? Like 9 degrees below zero. And it felt like that anyway. And he says, what should I do? I left my car by the hospital, Rockville Center, not far from where I was the hospital rabbi, South Nassau Community Hospital, great place to plug. Oh, it's already Mount Sinai, Har Sinai. Okay. So he says, okay, here's what we're going to do. Call me when you finish your meetings in Manhattan. We'll work it out. Where is the con? It's in Queens. No problem. So I finished my 4 o'clock meeting, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock-ish, and I call him up, and what now? He goes, take this 7 train from where you are, Penn Station, right? 6 stops or whatever it is, and get off at 40th Street. So what does this guy do? He goes around the train stations and looks for pigeon nests. Because the pigeons build their nests in these places where people don't live. And the chachila, the mitzvah shel hakan, is something that you find on your way. There's no better way than a subway, a derech, okay? So they nestle their nests in these nooks and crannies on the L's, on the elevated trains, and different parts of the train stations. Okay, I get it. I say, okay, I'm on the train, 40th Street. And I've had a whole day of traveling already. I'm already spent, and I still have to go to Muncie to Ribnitz and say the entire book of Tehillim. Okay, this is not so simple. So I get to 40th Street. He goes, wait for me on the platform. I say, there's no way I'm waiting for you on the platform because it is freezing here. I found a CVS, God bless them, and I went inside and I found a package of Stelladora cookies because I hadn't eaten all day. Why didn't I eat all day? Because I brought treats for my balabatim that I learned with, sandwiches from traditions in the 5 towns, in Cedarhurst. But I can't eat because I don't eat meat except on Rosh Chodesh and other holidays. So I had a pastrami sandwich sitting in my pocket, but I couldn't eat it because it was too early. You understand? It wasn't yet after 5 o'clock, after 6 o'clock. So I'm starving. I found some OU Parv Stelladora cookies. Thank God for that. Thank God for CVS. And I meet him on the platform. And you know where the steps go up to the platform from the ticket booth? There's a ticket booth, right? There's a guy sitting there, and then you go to the right or to the left, whichever side of the train you want. On the left side, we go up, and 2 beautiful, beautiful pigeons. And he says, shh. The father sits during the day, and the mother sits at night, but they were both there. And he says to me, there's 1 egg in there. I know there's 1 egg in there. Then it became like a James Bond movie because Chas v'Sholom. Well, first he explained to me all the greatness of this mitzvah and how it creates chesed and shamayim. And if you do it, it's a school for children. It's a school for a zillion things. Okay, and I'm sold. So he says, the goyim shouldn't see because it could be a chil Hashem. Like, why are you bothering the pigeons? You understand? You take a cane. He's got his cane that's been used by umpteen holy rabbis to poke away the mother bird. And he grabs the eggs. So I'm standing there on the subway platform, on the steps up against the wall like this, hiding the cane. And he's like this also back up against the wall. We're waiting for people to go down. They all leave. Now's our chance. I go. He goes, I want you to do this b'simcha shel mitzvah. So I'm saying, simcha shel mitzvah. Okay, I'm sitting there. And then people start coming and go, Simcha shmimcha, let's get this over with. Let's get this done. I need that egg. I'm making the bracha. Let's go do this right now. I can't meditate for half an hour. We got to get action. So I grab the walking stick, push away the mother bird, and he grabs the egg. Now it's a little beautiful little pigeon egg, and then he takes his like a flashlight, shines it through, and says, it's 100% kosher. There's nothing in there at all. He taught me something. He says, when there's blood on the outside of the egg, there's no blood on the inside of the egg. That's nature. And my wife says he looks like a bird and sounds like a bird. He talks very quickly, Rabbi Khan. He chirps. And he showed me, and he moves around a lot like a bird. And he's polishing to eat the egg. And he says to me, the West, I said, what's Barim Tikachlach? The first eggs that I got with my Khani, he preserved them for me, and I have them in my house. They're preserved, like in a little thing where you shake in snow, and the snow comes, like from the 1964 World Fair. I'm dating myself, okay? So he put them in jelly, and he wrote the date that we did it. It was that year where I went to Rosh Hashanah, did Shiluch HaKhan, went to the Heilig Rebbe Melech, and when I came back, we were expecting our first child, who I named Elimelech. You understand? Triple header. Now here, I went to Uman on Parshat Sarah. I went to the Heiler Melech. The only thing that was missing was Shiluach HaKan. And then we had a Baruch Hashem personal good news, and hopefully for everybody. So he goes to me, you got to eat it, got to eat it. It's the biggest thing is to eat it. Would you like to eat a pigeon egg from a metal beam on the 7 train on the 40th Street station? Are you going to do that? My wife's like, ah! I called her, I told her, no way. I said, okay, if I'm doing this, I'm going to do this right. So we poked the hole open. I drank like Rocky Balboa, from the movie Rocky. He drank eggs before he started to run. I drank the yolk. It was actually very tasty. And then he drank the rest because he was chalishing to do that. I gave him $800. That's what it costs to do it. I'll give you the phone number if you want. You can go do this incredible mitzvah, especially people who have not yet been blessed with children. They'll be blessed with more. And whatever the blessings they need, or just to help bring Mashiach. Okay. But that's not all. Now I still have to go to Muncie. I'm in Queens on the 7 train. I take the 2 stops later, Long Island Railroad, to Rockville Center. Okay, so I'm in there within like a half an hour, but I don't remember where I parked my car. And in Rockville Center, it's a massive train station with a 12 municipal parking lots. And I said, no way I'm going to get a ticket. So I parked in a medical building, which had an underground parking like thing and a black fence. And I ran through the fence and I ran and catch the train. I have no idea where this was. It could be anywhere around the train station. It's about 9 degrees, blowing winds. And I'm wandering around the train area. Where is that building? Where is that black fence? And I'm saying, YIBONEH Shalom, I want to do a mitzvah. Please help me. Rabbi, I want to come down by you. Hey, look at Rabbi Melech. I just came from you. Help me out. So after wandering around in the freezing cold, and I'm thinking about just quitting, going back to Far Rockaway in a cab, and then I'll find the car whenever. 2 guys walk out from a bar right in front of me. Rockville Center has a lot of restaurants and bars. And I said to them, I'm looking for such a building. I described that it had cement, how buildings held up on cement stands, and then underneath you can park. They have a lot of those buildings in Eretz Yisrael. So they said, we don't know, but there's a bartender in the bar. He knows everything about this place. I think he's been living here for 50 years. Okay. I put on my ski cap. And then I go into the bar and I'm talking to this huge Irish guy and 2 other guys. And I tell him my dilemma and I start describing the building with the black fence. And he says to me, okay, take this number down. 770. No, he goes, not 770, 77. But he said 770, I promise you. North Center Avenue, I think that's your building. Sure enough, I go there. It was near a fire station. I remember a fire station. And there's my car. And then I remembered what Rabbi Khan had told me, that you have to have a Sudas mitzvah after you do Shiluach HaKan. And there's my pastrami sandwich from 9 o'clock in the morning, half frozen. And I take my bottle of water, I wash, no one's around. I sit in the car, I had a kosher pickles. I bought a mustard because I was giving away these sandwiches to my balabatim. So I made a Suda, I put on some Jewish music. And I had a Sudala in Rockville Center in my car, which ironically have been pelted with bird refuse in a way that you've never seen before. Thank God it got washed off with the rain yesterday. But I have to drive to Muncie, and I'm telling Hashem, please give me the physical strength to do this. I need the physical strength to do this. Okay, I get to Muncie. It's even colder than New York. I say, okay, 150 kipitlach. After the first 50, I'm going to take a break. After every 50, I'll take a break. I'll take a break at 50. No, I'm going to push to 90, and then I'll finish. Because tzaddik is a cutoff point for me, because first time I ever met the holy tzaddik, Rabbi Lozer Mordechai Koenig, whose yortzeit was just recently, and my first trip to Uman ever, which was after Pesach 2003. I joined him in Mezhebush at the Baal Shem Tov's kever at sundown, and then we said Tehillim tzaddik with all of his chassidim, tzaddik till the end. And I thought I was in a different world. I just felt out of an outer space. So always to me, tzaddik is like a cutoff point. It's like a section. And so, okay, I say the first 50. I wander back to get another cup of hot black coffee from the rest of the area. And I'm like, I'm losing altitude. I don't know that I can do this. It's just a little too cold. I'm a little too tired. No, I persevere. I go back to the building. I get up to 80. And I said, that's it. I got about 10 more in me. I can get to tzaddik, but I can't get beyond. Now we're in a little building, and Hasidim are standing there, 3 guys, same Tillim, other people coming and going. And I said to them, Rabbi, I need some help. I took on to say the God's Tillim, but I think I can only do until Kapitel Tzaddik. Can you help me? So one guy says, yeah, I'll do Kuf Yotes to the end. Another guy says, yeah, I'll do Tzaddik to Kuf Hey. Another guy says, I'll do Kuf Hey to Kuf Yotes. And we start saying it simultaneously. By the time I finish my slow recitation of Tillim, snail-like recitation of Tillim, my 10 kapitlach, they're already finished with all their kapitlach. We make a rakita, we make a dance. And we daven for Shlema, people close to us, etc. I gave them the names. And we danced. Utzuetza betufar. We daven poil al skut, that our prayers should be received. Yeah. And I got home at 2:00 in the morning. Okay, and I collapsed into bed. And the truth is, it's all about the ratzon. I could not physically do this, but I wanted to do it, and it happened. Should be a schus for everybody. I'm happy I can share these stories. If it inspires you to have ratzon, to do what Hashem wants to do, is to be in a joyous, loving relationship with us. As crazy as that sounds, to break through all the klippas that constantly, 24/7 envelop us. And we need to break through like that little girl AGAM broke through. And hopefully we're going to see more breakthroughs and more breakthroughs. V'od yoter tov. And the light, should just get stronger and stronger. We're in very, very special times, but very, very dangerous and precarious times. And we need, just like the Jews coming out of Mitzrayim, we need the Amud H behind us, and the Amud Ashan. We need protection, Shabbat protection. Hashem should help us bring Yeshuas. Hashem Yeshuas for Klal Yisrael. Sorry for going over. Thank you for listening. Have a great week and Mazel Tov.
Shir, Shir,